Your teen requested a ride, but this time not from you. It's through their Uber teen account. You drive your teenager around, a lot, to their friend Jacob's house, their other friend Jake's house, to James's, to Jaden's, to Jalen's, to...
Mom? This is Jake's house, not Jacob's.
Now with an Uber teen account, your teen can request a ride under your supervision. They'll ride with a highly rated driver, and with live trip tracking, you'll follow along the whole ride to their friends' houses that all sound the same. Add your teen to your Uber account today. See app for details.
Bye, Mom.
The Volvo XC60 plug-in hybrid is about performance, not just on the road, but in life, where the only speed that matters is how fast you can slow down. Performance where it matters the most. Visit volvocars.com/US.
Claire loves flair. Tom's into bootcut. Ava likes denim on denim, and Sarah is all about a crop jean jacket. Whatever your denim look is, Walmart's got you covered. Find the things you love at Walmart.
Hey everyone, welcome to this edition of Keep Watch Pass on the It's Not That Bad podcast channel, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Now, just because someone is an actor doesn't mean that they aren't ridiculously multi-talented, and some of those actors over the years have gone on to move over to the director's chair and have a shot at making their own film. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. We're here to talk about those films, and here to join me on this mission to find movies directed by actors is the one who should be directing things. My lovely wife, Carrie. Carrie, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I am doing very well. So let me give you, dear listeners, some of the criteria that we put down for this. The movie in question had to be directed by someone who is primarily known as an actor. So just to give you a little insight into what I was looking at, yes, I recognize that Quentin Tarantino has acted in a number of films, usually the ones that he directs, but he's primarily known as a director. So personally, I didn't put him in it because when I think Tarantino, I think director, I don't think actor. Carrie, what's some of the criteria that you put out for yourself?
Well, following the rules, and with that said, that made it extraordinarily difficult because I wanted to choose the actor for the roles that they play and not the movies that they've directed.
Mm-hmm.
So just looking at the movies directed by the actor, it made it far more challenging.
Yeah. And let me give you a little bit of an example here, dear listeners, just to give you an idea. If you were to take a look at William Shatner as an example, you couldn't pick films that William Shatner was in that he didn't direct. You had to pick a film that William Shatner actually directed. So that narrows the search a little bit and makes it a little bit tougher. They could still act in the same film that they directed. That's okay, but they need to be primarily known as an actor. And we're going to get the party started by picking 3 films each: a keep, a watch, and a pass. The keep is one where the actor clearly is a pretty damn good director as well. The watch is one that, you know what? Maybe it's their first chance, maybe it's whatever, but they did a decent job, but it's not as good as the keep. And then the pass is one that maybe you should have stuck to the acting. And we're going to start with you, Carrie. So what is your keep movie directed by an actor?
Well, I mean, can you actually pick a Hollywood movie that is not somehow associated with Tom Hanks, whether he's acting or directing? I mean, Tom Hanks is just brilliant. And to me, he's just Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
I think isn't there like a Saturday Night Live sketch out there with his amount of Oscars that he actually has won? So I'm going to pick The Keep being Larry Crowne, directed by one Tom Hanks, starring Julia Roberts. And he is also in it. Is he not?
No, he is in it, yes. But I think it's one of those things where, Tom Hanks has definitely perfected not just acting, because let's be honest, Tom Hanks is a fantastic actor, but he's also done very well in transitioning to the director's chair. And I don't think there's many actors out there that you can sit there and say they have taken to both extraordinarily well. Like, I take a look at someone like Ron Howard, right? Who, yes, started as an actor, because I remember Happy Days and I remember, Andy of Mayberry and the Andy Griffith Show, but he really took to directing and has become one of the best directors in the game today. And even his daughter, Bryce Dallas Howard, has become quite a good director. In fact, some of the best episodes of The Mandalorian have been directed by Bryce Dallas Howard. So, give that girl flowers, because she's deserved them.
The fact that they never became Weasleys is just a crime. Because could you picture it, right? Like,
oh my God.
they come by it honestly, the beautiful red hair.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, they could have been Weasleys.
Bryce,
Epic fail.
Wait,
Chris Columbus.
Would that make Bryce Dallas Howard like the modern day Ginny?
Ginny,
Yes,
yeah.
because let's be honest, Ginny is badass, and
Sorry,
so is
Bonnie
Bryce.
Wright. I mean, you were lovely, but
No, Bonnie Wright was perfect for the role at the time. Bryce Dallas Howard it embodies Ginny. That's awesome because she is badass.
in The Cursed Child, she could be Ginny.
There we go.
Oh my God. We've cast it. Make it so.
I wonder though. And I know we're getting a little bit off topic here, but hear me out. Here.
Usually do, yeah?
If a Harry Potter and the Cursed Child were to be filmed, do you think there would be an uproar if Bonnie Wright wasn't cast as Ginny? Because it's not like she's gone. She's still around.
Probably. I mean, let's be honest, right? If the original cast did not come back to reprise their roles,
There would be pitchforks. Of
yeah.
course, the actor has passed on. And then, yes, absolutely recast if you need to. But my keep film, and we're going to be completely geeking out here. So bear with me here. And you guys know I'm a geek. So I wear this on my sleeve. But in saying this, I need to say that I kept myself to one film per franchise. So I put another set of handcuffs on. So I'm going with Star Trek First Contact, which was directed by Jonathan Frakes. Of course, Will Riker, number one. This, to me, is the best Star Trek film that ever Star Trekked. And it's not like there weren't other Star Trek films that I could have picked for Keep Watch Pass, because Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, was directed by Leonard Nimoy, and it is fantastic. I love that. Is the funniest Star Trek film that ever Star Trekked. Of course, Jonathan Frakes also directed Star Trek Insurrection. I enjoyed that film, and it would have been a decent watch film, but I wanted to keep it to just one Star Trek film. And First Contact is the most badassing Star Trek that ever badassed. Like, if you were to ask Star Trek fans what was the best Star Trek film, more often than not, the answers that you're going to get are either First Contact or Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. The fact that First Contact is also, technically speaking, the 8th Star Trek film, it also continues the legacy of even number Star Trek films being the absolute best, and the odd number ones being ones that, kind of like Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, which was directed by William Shatner and is a steaming pile of
And I'm just laughing to myself because I'm thinking, and then there's me, the anti-Star Trek fan, who if you were to ask their favorite movie, I'd be like, well, clearly Galaxy Quest or Free Enterprise. That was a good one.
Oh. I mean,
I'm about to break the internet.
I mean, you would not be far off in saying Galaxy Quest is a fantastic Star Trek film. In fact, if I remember correctly, there is a documentary about Galaxy Quest. And in it, if I remember correctly, Brent Spiner is actually on camera saying, well, Galaxy Quest is the best Star Trek film.
Right?
So you're not really far off in saying that, but Free Enterprise is also a gem. But I think it's one of those things where Jonathan Frakes really brought a lot. I don't want to say he brought machismo to Star Trek, because that's kind of downplaying it, because, there's some badassery all around. But he basically took Star Trek, and it's like if you went from Generations to First Contact, it's kind of like taking the Alien franchise and going from Alien, which was a very good atmospheric horror space film, to Aliens, the second one, which brought some serious ass kickery to Sigourney Weaver's Ridley. First Contact, in bringing in arguably the best modern Star Trek baddie since Next Generation came out, and that's the Borg. Putting that into play, bringing in the time travel and going back to the moment of first contact with Zefram Cochrane. First Contact is a joy. It's a fun. It's got humor. It's got action. And it has everything that you're looking for in a Star Trek film. I can't sit there and say enough good things about First Contact. And much to the same way that Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan really proved that you could do a good Star Trek film as opposed to Star Trek: The Motion Picture, which is boring. Star Trek: The Motion Picture tried to be too much like 2001: A Space Odyssey, and it was just boring as hell. And I'm sitting there going, I'm sorry, do you guys remember what made Star Trek good? Because I don't think you did. And then Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan comes out. It's like, okay, now you remember what made Star Trek good. Even The Search for Spock, Star Trek 3, might be the best odd-numbered Star Trek film. I'll give them that, but you have to really know what makes Star Trek good. And I think it's one of those things where you take a look at Star Trek 4, directed by Leonard Nimoy, and the two films made by Jonathan Frakes. I mean, these people are Star Trek, so it makes sense to hand the helm over to someone who knows the franchise because they are part of the franchise. So Star Trek First Contact, for me, I'll watch that any day of the week.
Claire loves flair. Tom's into bootcut. Ava likes denim on denim. And Sarah is all about a crop jean jacket. Whatever your denim look is, Walmart's got you covered. Find the things you love at Walmart.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Have you ever thought about something new you'd love to learn? As adults, it's easy to get caught up in the daily grind, and sometimes we forget to make time for new experiences. Remember when we were kids and learning was part of everyday life? Now it feels like we're always in work mode. But what if we could tap into that curiosity again? Whether it's learning how to garden, picking up a new language, or finally beating your friend in your fantasy football league, there's so much out there to explore. Therapy can help you reconnect with that childlike sense of wonder. I know for me, therapy has been a great way to learn about myself, set healthy boundaries, and develop positive habits. It's not just for times of crisis. It's about growing and becoming the best version of yourself. I know I am more in tune with both my positive self, which I highlight, and my negative self, which I'm working to minimize since I began working with my BetterHelp therapist. If you've been thinking about starting therapy, BetterHelp is a great option. It's fully online, so it's convenient, and it fits around your schedule. You'll fill out a quick questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist. And if it's not the right fit, you can switch at any time with no extra charge. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/Pantheon today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/Pantheon.
I just MailChimped my marketing.
You MailChimped your what?
I MailChimped my marketing with AI to create an effective marketing campaign in minutes.
No, MailChimp way.
Yes, MailChimp way. Now I can hyper-personalize my campaigns across email and SMS.
You can do all that with MailChimp?
What did I just MailChimp and say?
MailChimp your marketing with the #1 AI-powered email marketing and automation platform, Intuit MailChimp. #1 based on publicly available data on competitors' customers. Plans vary. SMS available as add-ons. Visit MailChimp.com.
For my watch film, I'm going to happily agree with Carrie in that there aren't many actors out there who have taken to the director's chair quite like Tom Hanks. But I'm going to go with a different film, and I'm going to go with That Thing You Do. This is just a fun film, and right now I know Brian Colburn over at My Weekly Mixtape is going, "You damn right it's That Thing You Do," because this is one of his favorite films. This is perfect. Absolutely perfect period piece about a band that is basically a one-hit wonder, oneater. You have to watch the film to get it. And the fact that the film basically plays the same song throughout the entire movie, and yet you never get tired of that song. And it's, Tom Everett Scott basically looks like a young Tom Hanks in this film. And it's so much better than Tom Hanks in he's a much better manager in That Thing You Do than he is in Elvis. Because, no for that one. But That Thing You Do is all worlds of fun. Love Liv Tyler in this. Tom Everett Scott is great. And Tom Hanks does a fantastic job both on screen and behind the camera. All right, Carrie, your watch film for movies directed by actors.
Well, I have to admit, I have not actually seen this movie through, but definitely the synopsis caught my attention, and I definitely have to see the final conclusion of the movie. But directed by Zach Braff is A Good Person with Florence Pugh, Morgan Freeman. It's the story about a car accident that completely alters and changes the entire life of this woman played by Florence Pugh. And it just seems like such a fantastic story. I have to see it all the way through, of course. But I have to admit, I have movie narcolepsy. And so I tend to nod off, but that's, you know what? It's such a lovely, heart-wrenching, grab the box of tissue story.
I think it's safe to say that there's not much that the Pugh can't do. She is,
I love it.
She is absolutely fantastic.
That should be a shirt.
Right? There's nothing the Pugh can't do. And Florence, if you're listening to this, you're welcome. We approve. But I mean, you take a look at some of the films that she's put out lately. You know, she's Dune Part 2, Black Widow. I even like Don't Worry, Darling. I know it qualified and we talked about that on It's Not That Bad, but you know what? She's fantastic in it. There's a movie that she's in coming out called We Live in Time, and it just looks like the kind of film that is literally going to rip your heart out and hold it in front of you while you watch it beating its last beats. That's how hard this one's going to hit. And of course,
this movie too, right?
Yeah.
Like that's exactly it.
Yeah. The Pugh can do no wrong. And I'm just going to start giving her t-shirts and you're welcome. But yeah, no, like if she's in it, you know it's going to be good. Let's not forget the fact that she was also in Hawkeye as well. So, and Oppenheimer, you know, she was part of the Barbenheimer. So she's now a part of movie history, at least a moment in movie history. All right. So now we get to your pass film.
Well, this one was easy. I would pass on anything affiliated with Ben Affleck. So I'm going to pass on Argo. I mean, even though, I'm sorry, Kevin Smith, I know you think he can play the shark from Jaws. Yeah, sorry, Mr. Affleck. Argo is my pass movie.
You know what the funny thing is? And again, we kind of talked about this a little bit when we did our episode on movies starring Morgan Freeman, in that just because it's nominated for awards doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be good. And Argo, I mean, it's a fascinating story. The fact that it's based on real life, and he did a decent job of it, but it doesn't mean that I like the film. And that's not necessarily a good thing. I mean, like, he does do some decent stuff in the director's chair. Gone Baby Gone got a lot of attention. There are some good things out there, but
I think it was a good concept. It just didn't stick the landing.
Yeah, no, it's a fascinating story, but just because it's a fascinating story and the fact that it's based on reality, and no matter how good it may be acted, if it doesn't connect with you, then yeah, it's going to, just because the film is well received doesn't necessarily mean that it connects with everybody. So I completely understand that. From my past film, and it hurts because I like the actor who directed this film. And I think he's actually a very good director. But sometimes you have to know the IP a little bit before you can really enjoy the film. I'm talking about Artemis Fowl as directed by Kenneth Branagh. Now, I will sit there and say that the first Thor film, as directed by Kenneth Branagh, is fantastic. I think it's the second best Thor film out there, and I think he was the perfect person to handle Thor at that time. But when it comes to Artemis Fowl, first of all, I'm not as familiar with the world of Artemis Fowl. I get the concept, but I wasn't necessarily an Artemis Fowl aficionado. And it came out at a very, very weird time. So this was one of the first films that came out in 2020 post-pandemic. Like, so people were at home. This came out straight to Disney Plus. And when it came out, we were like, okay, this looks like something that the kids would enjoy. And we can actually have a movie night at home because we're all stuck at home. And we all sat down and we all watched it together. And like across the couch, no one seemed like they really enjoyed it. I know I was nodding off during it because it wasn't very exciting. The kids were like, meh. Like it didn't do anything. And then I would love to hear from fans of the Artemis Fowl world if they enjoyed it, because I personally didn't. And I recognize that my lack of knowledge of the world of Artemis Fowl probably led into that. But you have to think that if it's a film directed at not young kids, but at least older kids, and our older kids at the time didn't like it at all, maybe it didn't stick the landing. All right, Carrie, please remind our listeners what films you picked for movies directed by actors.
I am keeping Larry Crown. I'm watching A Good Person again in its entirety, and I'm passing on Argo.
All right, and I am keeping Star Trek First Contact. I'm watching That Thing You Do, and I am passing on Artemis Fowl. Not because it was a bad film, just because it did nothing for me. Carrie, thank you so much for this. And dear listeners, you guys know the drill. If there is a topic out there that you want us to cover on Keep Watch Pass, or a movie that you want us to cover on It's Not That Bad, hit us up on social media at Not That Badcast, or go to our website at notthatbadcast.com. And while you're there, make sure you check out all of our other shows, including our 3 times a year special, Grading on a Curve. Until next time, she's Carrie, I'm Jay. You guys are awesome. This is Keep Watch Pass on the It's Not That Bad podcast channel, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.
The Jeremiah Show is proudly featured on Pantheon Podcasts. Don't miss an exciting episode of The Jeremiah Show. You're invited to the world of pop culture, music icons, and food gods. Find Jeremiah at thejeremiahshow.com or on all social networks and back catalogs at Linktree, Jeremiah D. Higgins.
I am Miles Zuniga from Fastball.
And we are Girl Named Tom.
Hi, I'm Marielle Hemingway.
Hi, this is Chef Melissa King from Top Chef All Stars.
Hi there, everybody. This is Ann H.
Hi, I'm Shadoe Stevens. I'm having a great time on The Jeremiah Show, the greatest show in the history of the world.
The Jeremiah Show is brought to you by Evolve Entertainment Network, Pantheon Podcasts, and Radio Candy Media.
I do hope you enjoyed that interview. I'm sorry that Jeremiah is so hopeless. I did made a real effort to sort of get through the sludge and the drudgery and the cliches and the second-rate ideas. I hope I didn't disappoint you too much. And as far as Jeremiah is concerned, do write in, because if you do, we can do something about this.